Hmm. Welcome to Love Is Alchemy, a monthly free call by the Love Mandala, where our mission is to help you experience more love and create a world based on love. What we're going to do today is my intention is really to help you experience some key ways to really deepen in the love you experience and to support you with connecting with other people more easily. And as I always say on these calls, I'm really here to facilitate and share ideas and not really tell people how to think or, be. And I really have respects for all belief systems. So just take what it feels resonant with you and set anything else aside and know that I support you. And if something isn't the fit for you, that's completely fine. And take care of yourself in the process as attend. You can get up and have a bio break or whatnot. There's no requirements. I want you to feel like this is a safe space to be yourself. And what I'd like to do is just kind of give you a quick overview. So we're going to do basically 3 or 4 simple things. I'm going to talk about a framework that I use with my clients that really helps us with self-love. And then we'll talk about a few ways of being that we can access to show love. And then we'll do a meditative practice kind of in 2 parts like I've done before and come back for any final Q&A before closing out. So we'll use the chat mostly for Q&A and just let me know. You can always raise your hand on the screen too, if necessary. So one of the core ways we express love is really that it's not something that we think about a lot, because when we think about love, we often think, oh, love's an action or a verb. And it is something we're doing, but it's actually the way that we show up. And I call this the way of being. And we're going to answer kind of two key questions. What is the way of being in the context of love? Like, what does that mean? And then how does our way of being help us love more effectively or more powerfully with those around us? So in answering those 2 questions, we're going to step back a little bit and just talk a little bit about, I'm going to just give you my perspective a little bit about, what we're here doing as, divine beings having a human experience. And my perspective is that we all have a common purpose that's very sacred, and that is to remember and express love through being in this life and experience joy as well, of course. But that's something that really happens naturally for all of us, but it's different, right? We have different expressions, different ways of bringing it through, but we have that in common. And in coming into form and really being the love that we are, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that can get in the way, even though it's a natural process to show up as love, to be love, because that's the core of what we are. And those things are the typical things you would think of, like trauma, stress, grief, maybe, the way we were raised. There are many things that we can be limited that really either shut our hearts down, make us protect, or, turn us away from looking at the things that are in the way of being more open to a deeper level of love. So one of the fundamental things that I try to help people with is really to understand that our relationships all come back on some level to a foundation with one primary relationship, and that's the relationship we have with ourselves. So we can't really escape that one. It's with us from day one to the very end. And so the one of the ways that I like to help people is to really look at the nuances of how we care for ourselves and how we express love and how do we need to be loved. And when I wrote my book, one of the things that I found was that ways of loving really fit into kind of big buckets. So I saw them fall into this one everybody will know, but the ways we act. So ways of acting are things like giving a gift or spending time together. They're really visible right to the eye. Then we have ways of speaking. That's a nice obvious one too, like saying I love you or sharing your dreams with somebody. Those are all loving ways of speaking. And then ways of thinking is a third one, which is, do we show up in compassion or forgiveness? Are we judgmental or non-judgmental? those are ways that we show up in thinking that can be loving or not loving. And then we have ways of touching, which is obvious as well. There's so many expressions of that, so we don't really need to say that one. And then finally, the ways of being. So these are probably the least obvious to people, but it's not hard to understand. It's things like patience, compassion, gentleness, all those things and those qualities are ways that we just come with our presence. And they're also a bit of the tonality of the way that we love. So that's certainly part of it as well. And generally, I think of it as something, it's almost like a way of focusing in the moment with your energy, with your emotions, with more than your words and your actions. So hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to talk about, how do we shift so that we can bring more presence of love into our way of being and into our interactions. Um, so this framework that I tend to share with my clients, I share it not because we need it necessarily to talk about ways of being today, but I use it in order to help people sort of understand, like, how do I build a strong foundation to show up with more love? And what we find is that when we break things down into smaller pieces and get a little bit more nuanced about understanding the makeup of who we are, it just becomes easier to do. So there are 5 layers of the body, and I want you to just imagine that these are layers. We've got your physical one here, and that we're all aware of with your brain, your 5 senses. You have your energy body, which is your next layer, which is part of what it's tied to the physical body. So it includes things like your chakras, your meridians. It's the part of you that can feel like if you ever feel disassociated, you've separated your energy and your physical body. That's a separation that occurs. So I'm simplifying some of the complexities of the many dimensions of ourselves, but it's an easy way to understand and sort of talk about some of those layers that are integrated with the body. Then we have the 3rd layer, which is the mental body. And that's, of course, our ego, intellect, the way we think, creates our thoughts, all that. And then we have the emotional body. And that consists of both, the positive and negative feelings that we have, as well as the expressions, that are coming through, from the heart. And last, the 5th layer that I like to bring people's awareness to, and it's really interesting because as we become aware of the 5th layer, which is our higher self, or people call it the light body or the essential self, the spiritual essence, there's 100 terminologies for it in different cultures. We can begin to really build a relationship. And the beautiful thing about the spiritual or higher self is that it is like this overarching aspect to ourself that really is in devotion to us and is there to guide us and care and be our wise and loving, element that oversees everything. And what happens is because because we're all these layers, if we're unintegrated, it's difficult for us to come from a place of center and balance from that higher wisdom. And so as we learn to care at these different layers, like the physical or the mental or the emotional, and find balance and harmony, then we can access that higher self much more easily because we're not thrown off and responding just from one layer. So that's one sort of foundation that I like to give people, because the integration of those levels and learning how to navigate and take care of yourself, like, okay, my emotions need some attention today. I'm really upset about something, or I'm shifting and I'm feeling really, maybe I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I feel disconnected from myself and I need some help with my, integration of the energy body. Or there's so many things that can come up, or maybe I just need more sleep. It can be any one of these things. But as we work on these levels and bring together that integration, what happens is that we just are easily able to get more access, right? Because it doesn't get in the way. Now, it sounds easier. It's easier said than it is done, of course, because some of the things that interfere on these different levels can be, really big pieces of work. Whether you had a really big loss and you're carrying grief, or you have addiction and pain that you're struggling with, all these things can require a lot more work than, I'm not trying to say this is just snap, we're going to do it, but it's part of the process of understanding how to get there, that they even exist. And as we learn to love ourselves more, that foundation gets stronger and it gets easier. So I thought we would take the first step of just looking at the ways of being, of how we can actually apply those to ourselves before we talk about another person and interacting with somebody else. And we're going to do that. We'll do that with, we'll pick somebody in our life and work with them as well. Because I want people to go away from this with two things. How can I show up with more love for myself in the way that I am being? And how can I show up as more of a presence of love with other people in my life? So we'll kind of break that into two parts as we go. Okay, I'll just check to see, are there any questions? Okay, looks like we're okay. And so let me tell you just a little story about me and about the way of being with myself that I've sort of learned. There've really been a lot of instances in my life where I really needed self-soothing. I had some really significant losses early in my life. With my father died very young from a brain tumor. I had two brothers who died in their 20s, and those were really tough. And other things that were in my life that really made that really called for me to take care of myself maybe differently than people around me. When you're going through something like that, you need different amount of space for yourself. You might need, more sleep. You might need different kind of care for your body, all kinds of things. And I also have a highly sensitive system on a physical level. So that can be really a blessing and it can be really a challenge. I'm really sensitive to foods and to other kinds of things like environmental factors and all this. And so I've struggled at times in just allowing myself to have what I need without judgment. It sounds kind of silly, but there's sort of been this process of having to learn, like, how do I meet myself where I am and not always where I want to be? And what's the most powerful thing I found is that when I get stuck, compassion is the place to go. Like maybe because it's very easy for me to let's say, let me give you an example. It's kind of silly, but um, I tend to need more sleep than some of the people that I've been partnered with. And there's this like always this draw to like go to bed later or and not get the kind of sleep that I need. And I've really had to commit to myself that this is the compassion, that's just what it requires for me to operate well. And there was a time when I would just turn on myself and say, like, why do I need more? Why am I that person that, and almost judge that my needs were different than what they were. It sounds kind of silly, but it became painful. And I began to recognize, like, if I'm judging myself for what I need, we're going to be on a painful road here. So I really learned to just recognize it when that begins to happen and say, okay, I get that I'm having a hard time. Like I want to be drawn to spend more time with everybody in my life that I love and, do things a different way. But there's a compassion for the need that I have and for saying like, okay, let's just stop there. Stop the story, stop the judgment. Like it's okay. Maybe I stayed up late and I got sick and I just have to say like, okay, I get why you did that. It's hard to always be that consistent. And that like way of being with yourself, whether it's words or just a feeling like, okay, I'm going to accept that this happened. I'm going to accept that this is who and what I need. And to just shift into the softness takes practice. But the more we do it and we feel like, how are we showing up with ourselves? How are we sensing and feeling about our inner being? That's where you start to make some gains and have a different kind of like a softer experience with yourself. So hopefully that makes sense. Um, the a couple of the ways in my book, I won't read them, but they're in here. A couple of the ways that are in the book that are ways of being that are really very helpful in cultivating self-love in a very concrete way are gentleness. So it's like I was saying, how do I approach myself when I'm upset? How do I relate to myself when I made a mistake and I can see it? Everything's always more clear looking in the rearview mirror, of course. But sometimes we have those experiences where we look back and we go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm sorry, that I made a choice that wasn't that wise in retrospect. It didn't seem like such a smart thing to do. Maybe I've hurt somebody, or, somebody's felt disconnected from me because of my choices. And so how can I own that and still be in a loving compassion or gentleness with myself? So those are the things that are sometimes hard. Like sometimes we don't even want to admit we have made a mistake or we have something to learn because it means, oh, I've got to own this thing that feels painful. But the thing is, if you can go to that place where you go, okay, own it and I love you still, and I'm going to get it sooner or later, and it's okay, it's fine. It's easy to own stuff. It's much, much easier. So that can be very powerful to just apply the way of being with yourself of gentleness. Another one that's really helpful that sounds kind of simple, it goes back to the framework, is attentiveness. So the way I think about this is with attentiveness, am I literally paying attention to these different layers throughout the day? Am I paying attention to, do I need food? Do I need a nap? Do I need to take a break from my computer? Like, am I feeling emotionally okay? How's my mental well-being? Am I ruminating? Do I need to look at that? And it's sort of just this thing of like, all love is at some level is related to attention. So are we able to turn and take our focus away from what's going on outside to come to the inside and look at what's happening for us so that we can make those adjustments? And I think I'm somebody who my adult life really occurred in the midst of working in corporate America in really big companies, the top Fortune 50s. And there was this drive to just like get to your desk and like work all day and just, like get shit done so fast and as, effectively as you could without taking pause for what you needed. And it was almost like a warrior's badge. And when I quit working for other companies and started working, at my own, it was a real transition to make to understand, like, how do you break those habits? And what it requires is a lot of attention to yourself and checking in and trying to find how to modulate between, okay, how am I doing versus what needs to get done? And what's really great is that as you learn to do that, and I think in the very beginning, I went a little too far the other way, saying like, oh, I just don't want to be, so regimented. You need structure. We need, a lot of things that, make the day work and operate. But we can take these little bits along the way to reclaim ourselves and to come back to ourselves if we need to, if we've gotten lost along the way, that then allow us to be in the flow and allow that attentiveness to keep us actually in a really much more effective way, no matter what we're doing. I don't care if it's work or play or family or whatever. So attentiveness is a great way of being for us to practice with ourselves. And then I would say one more I'll pull from the book that is useful that I think you might find helpful is acknowledging feelings. So sometimes because we don't want to feel painful things, one of the hardest things is just to like admit we're feeling such, a certain way and we've got to look at it and allow it to be felt. Do I permit myself to feel what I do? Can I allow things to surface? Or am I doing things to keep it suppressed, or am I doing them to keep people happy? All those things. So that would be an example of a way of being with ourselves that really helps the emotional body. So there's one other thing that is also in my work that I think can help people is the simple use of affirmations to support our self-awareness. So if you're working on a quality, like let's say it's gentleness. Um, my books have a page of affirmations for each quality. So you could go look at those. And sometimes you just want to write your own and make it, very tailored to what you're experiencing. But an example would be And I highly recommend using I am statements because those are the most powerful. But an example would be, I am open to greater gentleness with myself. It's that simple. State it out loud or put it on a sticky and put it on your desk to help you kind of keep that focus. And that declaration of intent is very powerful to shift energy towards that outcome. A couple others that, as examples would be, I recognize that gentleness has strength and power. That's one I've used before. Another is, I am allowing a softness to rise in me for what I am experiencing. So that's been a big lesson for me, and it seems like I get it in one place and then shows up in another, to learn to be kind and softer with myself and how I'm experiencing life. So hopefully that makes sense. So one of the things that comes up with my clients um, is how do you make this shift? Like, it sounds good, like I'd like to do that, but how do you shift when you're not in a good place and shift into a better way of being? And there's a lot of spiritual tools that we use to do this, to shift our way of being. And it can really help to have outside help with this. But one of the things I'd like to remind people is that it's, we are visibly affected by other people's energy. Like, energy is naturally viral, and there's actually a lot more science behind this now. And so it's super interesting to me I've been reading up on it. There's a natural scientific term called coherence, and they've been measuring energetic coherence with the heart, for example. So the heart gives off EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, and they're 60 times stronger than what the mind gives us. So they're super powerful. And the heart, when you're in coherence with yourself, so let's say you are in a good place and your coherence is strong and you're in like a place of gratitude or something, your brain is basically being fed this, is syncing with this and is receiving that signal. And so your thinking is actually more clear. And when we're in negative, we have a negative experience, like something's happened and we're really upset, it really has that same effect on the rest of us. And what happens with people is that coherence occurs. So if you're and you can think of it as synchronizing. So if one person comes in and let's say they're at a vibrational level here and another person comes in here, one of the other things probably going to happen, unless they don't really interact, is this person could be pulled up in coherence with the person at a higher vibration that's feeling better, or the other person can be pulled down. And sometimes this is just a function of, it's not necessarily that we're weak or something, that we get pulled into people's emotions, but if we're super empathetic, it's really, really easy to do, to just sort of absorb what's going on around us. So that's something that can happen easily, if we're not conscious about it. And sometimes there's some people with, huge emotions and a lot of energy that are hard for us, or vice versa. We can come in and pick people up and bring a lot of happiness in too. So that just sort of naturally occurs. So it's something to be aware of as you enter, spaces with other people and interact with others. And when we go into really big spaces, there's a lot of energy. Like if you go through an airport, you could be passing thousands of people, right, on your journey. And so I use a couple really simple tools to help with this, because I am very sensitive. One is just to create an energetic barrier around myself. So just close your eyes. Let's just try this, okay? And there's this beautiful principle that one of my teachers shared with me of, that we can also almost imagine it like a screen around a porch. So imagine that you can actually do this lots of ways. So just know there's no perfect way of doing this. You can imagine like a bubble of light all around you, and much larger than your body. Think of at least, a couple feet out. Imagine it's like a screen and it's just screening out the bugs. It's screening out the negative things that you don't want to feel and be exposed to. So imagine yourself just being covered in that screen or that ball of light, and let yourself sort of tune into the quality of it. And I want you to see it completely go around you. below your feet, above your head, all the way around. And it can be any color you want. Maybe for today, we'll just pick a green light. Green's a really beautiful healing energy. So imagine that you're inside of that and you just set it in place for the day. Or you can think of it like a screen, like I'm going to put a screen around my home or around myself as I go throughout my day today to just really take care of myself and protect myself. I think sometimes it doesn't mean anybody else is doing anything wrong. It's just one of these things where it's very natural because everything is made up at the smallest levels, made up of energy. So it exchanges and it gravitates. And so that barrier can be really helpful into just also keeping you aware of what you're taking in and whether you need to sort of reset yourself throughout the day. Okay. The other tool that is really commonly used is the violet flame. It's a gift of the Ascended Master Saint Germain. And he is the keeper of this tool, which is basically a tool of transmutation. So it means like anything can be changed in form. So think of it like this. When you want to shift your way of being, let's say you're feeling kind of irritable and you need to go into something that's really important. You want to show up peaceful or you want to show up confident or calm, whatever it is. I want you just to, let's practice this. So imagine you go inside. Okay, just center yourself. So I always think of it in the heart, but whatever feels right to you is fine. Center yourself within yourself. And then invite Saint Germain to fill you with the violet flame. And just see the purple violet color as if it's a brilliant light, a brilliant flame, actually just, going through your whole field from top to bottom and burning off anything that needs to be transmuted and shifting it and healing it, allowing it to be moved from one form to the other. When I'm trying to shift something that's feels kind of stuck, I'll often use this tool and invite it to go back to its original form where it came from, go back to source, or go back to the earth to be formed into something new. Because all energies that we carry had some purpose. They're not evil or anything. They're just, sometimes we're carrying stuff that's weighing us down or we don't want to have that anymore. It's just, we outgrow things that that we've been interacting with the world as we evolve. And we might go, oh, I can see that, I've been carrying around a seriousness and maybe I want to have more fun. So let's just take that serious and say, hey, thanks for being here. We're going to set you free and let this purple, beautiful violet light from Saint Germain just transmute you and allow myself to feel lighter. And I want you to just really focus on feeling the shift. Does it feel like a wave went through your body? Does it feel like a bit of tingling? Maybe it feels like a bit of expansion within you. And so those are just two really simple ways that we can kind of facilitate a shift. As far as the practice, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to doing the meditation, and we're going to do it in two parts because I'm going to pause kind of in the middle. So and you can do these separately if you don't have a long time. It's a natural evolution from one focus to the other. So we'll start with this practice. And the reason we'll do this one is because we want to start with going in and applying this energy of presence, seeing love with ourselves first. So we're going to start with kind of bringing love to ourselves. And then the part two will be a little bit oriented towards relationships we have with other people. Okay. So take a moment to close your eyes. Just kind of let yourself settle. You might even think, are my eyelids rested? You can almost relax your jaw by just thinking about it. and just let yourself feel, okay, anything that needs to be kind of stretched out and released, and get yourself in a position that's comfortable. But if you can keep your spine straight, that's optimal. So if you don't have a good chair, you can lie on the floor even. Allow your body to release the tensions of the day. Take a breath in through your nose slowly, and then even slower out through your mouth. And I want you to invite just to send the breath into any place you have tension. Check for throughout your body. You might scan from top to bottom. Is there anything? I have a little tension back here, so I'm just going to breathe into it and let it go. And invite you to feel the spaciousness and openness of this opportunity to relax and to be present with yourself. And then just become aware of your breathing. And breathe as you breathe in and out. Just feel your breath get into a natural rhythm. If you're still feeling stressed at all, take a few more deep ones or hold your shoulders up and relax. But just allow yourself to just kind of feel yourself fall into that rhythm. It's natural. You don't have to think about it. And feel every cell in your body breathing that oxygen too. Our cells have a beautiful consciousness all their own. And that awareness alone is loving for us to take note of. Okay. So then I want you to go within and just kind of turn your attention. We're turning our attention inwards, and we're gonna just feel that the benefit of having done that clearing with the violet flame, and make sure that everything's clear. If you need to run that violet flame through the center of your being, you can do that again. I want you really to connect to your heart and feel the receptivity and openness that your heart can have to you. And if it feels prickly in any way or uncomfortable, just be with that. It's really okay. There's always reasons for these things. And you shouldn't be anywhere else than where you're actually at. So if that's happening, just bring curiosity to it. Maybe a softness from your own point of view. It's almost like you can be the observer of it. And just envision that there begins to be really like a sense of calm flowing through you. It's radiating out from your heart. It's flowing through your being. Can you feel it going down the back of your head, down over your shoulders, into your arms and hands, fingers? Can you feel your heart's love radiating out through your torso, down into your hips, down through your upper legs, your quads, down through your knees? And feel it just filter all the way down your shins, down to your ankles, your heels, into your toes, even your little pinky toes. And I want you to just feel connected to your body. And again, if anything surfaces that's uncomfortable, just hold a place of love if you can, or just observe. There's nothing wrong if you don't feel exactly how I'm saying. It's all natural. Whatever needs to be present is present. And as you settle into this calm, we're connected at the heart, and we're aware that we have this part of us that's the higher self. And the higher self is always aware of us, is watching over. It knows all of our gifts, it knows all of our challenges, it knows all that we're experiencing, whether we are conscious of that or not. And as we seek to connect with it, it returns and seeks to connect with us. So I want you just to intend that connection with your higher self, with the heart space. Now I want you to try listening to yourself. So this is like the wise part of yourself, if that's the easiest way to think about it. And relax into trusting that you can receive information from this part of you. It might be something simple like just a knowing or a simple thought. It might be a feeling or something that comes to you later. So if you don't get anything now, it's okay again. But we're going to ask a question of ourselves, a few of them, just to see what comes forward for you. What is the way of being that wants to emerge most right now in my life? And I'll say that another way. What quality of being would help me feel more loved? Another question we could ask ourselves is, what would be the most nourishing thing to bring to my soul right now? Is there a quality that would help me open my heart to love more fully right now? Just listen a little bit longer in silence. And last, we'll ask this question. Is there something else my higher self wants me to know right now? And just let it be light and playful. Let it come through any way it wants, or don't feel pressured to get an answer. Just be with this question and see what happens. Anything else that needs to come forward, we invite it forward. And feel the connection to your higher self. What does it feel like to you? What's your way of describing this connection with this part of yourself? Are there some sensations or feelings that you could pinpoint to say, I feel like for me, I would say, I feel balanced. I feel very attentive. I feel connected to myself. I feel peaceful. And I'm asking this so that you can anchor this feeling. So I want you to kind of imagine it's got a certain quality that you have when you're in connection with your most expanded self. So take that feeling and just anchor it in your heart, just like you're dropping an anchor in a lake or the ocean off of a boat, so that you can come back and feel that connection to love. And that completes the first part of our meditation. So, how did that feel? It's like we've got some comments that are calming, peaceful, open. And so I don't, I'm not wanting to pull you too much out of this energy because we just got there. So I'm just going to let you know, share something about why we're going to move to the second part of the practice. And that's that because as we're going to learn, we're going to practice like how do we bring presence into with another person, the presence of love. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And the reason I offer you practice with this is because the ability we have to bring a presence of love to one moment has a defining factor in what gets created in the next. And you probably heard many times that, be in the now, stay present, don't be in the future. But in a way, it's like offering yourself the gift to the future, because even when things are hard, it's like, okay, this is the moment I am. I'm not in the future. I'm not in the past. I can't be anywhere else. Let me bring as much love as I can to this moment. Then what we have is the opportunity to really be more present in love and influence and really have an effect on the next moment. So when as we go into this meditation, what I want you to do is to just settle in your heart again and just take the moment to, close your eyes, and we'll just go through this again. So I want you just to bring your attention to your heart center. Put your focus on this level of peace that resides in you. And if you're having a hard time accessing it, just remember that there's always a space in us that is kind of playing this role of the observer that's not wrapped up in the drama of things that we can always access. So we're searching for that. We're feeling for that place of neutrality inside, or you can think of it as love. It's both those things. And just allow your body to relax. So feel yourself anchored again in the heart and just settle down into it. And, your heart sits both on the front and, deeper in your body. So you can even think like, okay, I'm relaxing both in the front and the back in the heart space, and feel the peace there. Let's just imagine that it's sending out waves. There's a radiance that comes from the divine that we're anchored into, because that's where we come from, that really radiates out from the center of us. And it's sort of a practice just to feel for it and to know it's there. So I'm asking you to do that and to just really feel into that peace. And as you have your eyes closed, just invite yourself to feel the spaciousness. There's like a openness that's available to us to release all our tensions into, and to relax and allow alignment with this energy of love that's within us. And just take a few breaths into that. Keep breathing into your heart center. That's the center point you picked, or sometimes people pick the solar plexus, which is lower. You could do that too. And I want you just to, again, allow that calmness to just kind of expand. So let it filter. Imagine it's filtering out to your extremities. Allow it to keep going. And then let's take a moment to identify a situation in your life that's calling for more love. So this is going to be our practice point. So you might think of, it could still be that you want to work with yourself. So maybe there's a part of you that needs some care and attention. So there's nothing wrong with staying with that theme that we talked about earlier. But you can also go to, let's pick a person if that's where you'd like to work, and go, okay, is there a family member, a friend, maybe it's somebody at work, maybe it's your partner, one of your children. And for me, I'm going to pick one of my daughters. And I want you just to take a moment to, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be serious, like we can do this lightly, but to just feel them. Imagine that you're kind of inviting them into your space and present with you in your mind and in your heart. And truthfully, you can do this because time is not really linear. You can do this with somebody in the past. So it can even be something that you want to repair from the past. But where is love? There's a place in us that is sort of calling your attention to a situation or a person. So let's just go into that and say, okay, where is love drawing my attention to? Where does it need more of a focus? And so just place yourself in your mind with this person. Stay present in your heart as much as you can. And allow yourself to just relax into that space, whatever has happened between you. I want you to focus on the quality of your heart. So we're not here to do anything other than to be in a place of love with this person. So if you feel something is in the way, maybe there's something like a resistance to doing this, or maybe there's an anxiety about how, it would be in person, or maybe there's a judgment on yourself or the other person that you can let go of. There's really no need to hold back. I always tell people, like, you can pick things up again if you want. Just try putting them down. Because love can embrace all these things, even the things that you just don't have any idea how to work with. Just set them aside. And let the presence of love really surface within you. You can even imagine that you're like a beautiful rose and you're opening. And this love is sort of, being the beautiful force behind the petals opening. And it's expanding. Feel your connection to that quality, like how soft love can be, how it can also be really, really powerful and strong. It doesn't necessarily have to show up that way. But allow yourself to feel like, what's the quality of love that is really being invited into this situation, into this opportunity to connect with another person at this level. And we're all connected soul to soul anyway, so it doesn't have to be hard to do this, even if someone's not here. And remember that you are, at your core essence, you are made of love. So there's always love to be accessed within us. And just hold this sort of focus on this sensation of love within your being. See yourself in this beautiful flower that you are, radiating light. Maybe it's even kind of sparkling. Maybe there's a sense of beautiful scent. You might imagine you're radiating this beautiful rose scent, and hold this intention of unconditional love for not just the person you're with, but for your sweet self, Maybe this involves more than one person that you want to send it to. And just imagine you're with them and then nothing's being said. You're just holding this energy of love. And hold an intention to just be the embodiment of love. We all show up in our own unique ways as love. And you can even see it flowing out and filtering into the space of the other person you're with and mixing with their energies. And because of that coherence, they might feel your love and sort of rise up into the beauty of that. You might see it like a cloud kind of filtering out into the room, or a field of color, maybe like a field of green that's emanating from your heart. But whatever you want to visualize it as, stay present with the feeling. It's truly wrapping the other one you care about, or the one you want to make peace with, in the energy of love. And you are a gift of love merely by your presence. Feel the quality of this. And again, anchor this feeling that you're offering to them within your being. And when you feel complete, open your eyes and come back to yourself. How did that feel for everybody? So maybe just to wrap up in closing, I'll just remind you, where we've been. As we go about our days, remember that yourself has a lot of layers to it. Your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And they all need care and love as a foundation for all your relationships. And your way of being is a huge component of how you can express love, both with yourself and everybody around you. And practicing this felt sense of just, can you hold love? It's really like holding a vibration within your being. Can I hold this vibration of love in my presence, in the face of what's going on in my life, the chaos, the busyness, maybe other people having their own emotions, and just learn to practice it, because then you could be like this powerful force of presence to other people to help them to let go and move to a better place and really shift the world you live in from your unique place. Um, and remember that as you choose to show up with love in any moment, it defines how powerful the next one is. And so it's a real gift to everybody, especially yourself. And thank you for sharing this with me and coming today. For those of you who are listening later, this is all available to you whether you are here live or not. We mostly have folks who are doing the recorded call, but happy to have people either way. And I understand how we need flexibility in our lives. So feel free to bring a friend next time, and love to have you come back. Thanks for coming to Love is Alchemy, where love is the medicine.